Today, huh?
And we're back. I'm your host, BKP, and it's time for H&R Block Tax Tips with Beth Bennett. Beth, how are you?
I'm good, Brian. How are you today?
Are they laughing at us in there?
I think so.
What did we do?
Dang young people.
Those darn kids, huh? So anyhow, Beth, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, because obviously this is the busy time of the year. And there are some deadlines we're going to talk about that we want to make sure people are aware of that are right around the corner. Tax filing deadlines. Most people think about April, but that's not the only deadline they have to be concerned about. So what are some of the deadlines and some of the things that maybe people are not paying a close enough attention to that they need to?
So March 15th is next week, and that is the filing deadline for S corporations. And last year it changed that, also made it due for partnerships. So next week is your deadline, so get in, see your tax professional, get your corporation filed, get your partnership filed, so you can get your personal return filed. And that's due on April 17th this year. Again, there's that. April 15th falls on Sunday, Monday's a holiday in Washington, D.C., and so that bumps us to the 17th. So got a couple extra days again this year.
Tax day is actually April 17th this year.
Correct. April 17th this year. So you get 2 extra days. So we're not excited about that. That makes our work year, 118 days instead of 116. It's a really long work year. Okay,
now I have a question for you. They come out, politicians, elected officials come out after they have done tax reform, and they make big announcements, and it sounds this way, that way, and then it hits your desk, and the people come in and want their taxes prepared, and that's where reality, and you have to clarify many things that come from a podium in 5 or 10 minutes. Here's a new one. I want to put this out here. State tax income.
I know. I'm so excited about that.
Okay.
That's what this is. This is House Bill 918.
You brought that?
I was just really impressed that it took this many pages to tell us 3 things.
That many pages to tell us 3 things. Because let me set this up, folks. The state of Georgia, a lot of states this year where taxes are concerned, your personal taxes, corporate taxes, not property taxes, but corporate and personal taxes, a lot of state legislative sessions are looking at some adjustments because of the federal tax reform.
Remember when I was here in January, I told everybody, please make sure you go see a professional this year, because if you're itemized on your federal, it's going to be catastrophic on your Georgia. Well, so our House went to work. Thank you to Speaker Ralston. And we got some tax law changes. Let me give you some of these dates, because I found this so interesting. So the last tax change in Georgia was in 1986 on just regular, anything to do with taxes. The standard deduction hasn't changed since 1981, and that changed this year. Corporate tax has not changed, and there's still not a change since 1969, and an individual since 1937. So we've been paying with no consideration to inflation or income changes. The same tax laws have been in place for all those years. That just blew my mind. I was like, how does that even work? So super excited, because Georgia, and that passed on March the 2nd, the governor signed it on March the 2nd, that they'll double the standard deduction for Georgia. So if you're a married filing joint, it went from $3,000 to $6,000. So that's a big help, because remember we talked about most people that file and itemize on their federal, they were getting like $15,000, $20,000, and that carried to your Georgia, where your Georgia was only $3,000. So that was a huge difference, right? You're going to pay tax on that additional income. So now a little bit of relief there, and they're also changing the individual tax from 6% to 5.25% for those in the highest tax bracket. So there's several breakdowns of the tax bracket. And the most people fall, because that income is over $10,000, is where the 6% is. So most people fall in the 6%.
When you talk about, and this is where I get lost myself when discussing the tax bills, is the obviously a tax break from a percentage standpoint is obviously If you go from 6 and you go backward, that's
a quarter.
Yeah, that's backward something.
Yes.
But the standard deduction, is that the big takeaway here? Is doubling that? Is that the?
Yeah, it's again that relieves $3,000 more of your dollars from being taxed that was gonna, and then you add the 1/4% to it, so it all adds up. It's just chipping away at your bottom line of what your tax liability will be.
Now, is that anything that affects this year? Is that affect?
Nope, everything's going
everything.
forward.
All right, so
because the federal laws don't take effect till next year. And so neither will these. It'd be really hard because you'd have to go backwards because lots of people have already filed. Probably 60 or 70% of Americans have already filed.
Well, I asked that because, there's the way it's presented through the media sometimes. The impression of what took place with state tax reform, what took place with the national tax reform. We have to be clear that everything they are hearing goes in effect next year.
Next year. Everything is next year. Except for a couple.
But now we've talked about not just the need for H&R Block and Beth Bennett in your office to file taxes. We've talked about the need to get counseling on how to prepare for next year.
Yes, because there's so many changes.
We're already up into March, and if you're doing things where receipts are concerned or different investments are concerned, you can be going down the wrong road. And now with the state, next year you can have trouble.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So please see someone, let them review it. Again, our offices don't charge for a consultation. You can come in, we can plug your numbers in. Our system has this wonderful new tool that I'm super excited about that compares this year and then applies next year's tax laws and show you where you'll be next year.
Has H&R Block already sent down to you information breakdown on the state tax?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Not yet.
That's still in the works on the state?
Yeah.
But you will give somebody a consultation on preparing for next year, what they need to do now if they come in to see you?
Absolutely.
What are some of the other points that we need to make sure that our viewers know about?
Well, I've got a couple of changes since we've talked the last time, and clarifications keep coming down.
That's why we keep bringing you back.
Thank you.
That's why you keeps
me in business, right?
Don't tell everything
Job
on the
security.
Yeah. So a couple changes since the last time you've been here.
So originally, medical was supposed to go up from 7.5% to 10%. And that changed in mid-February, so now it's back to 7.5%. So if you had enough medical at 7.5% but not at 10%, come back in, we can amend that return and get that filed and hopefully save you some money. PMI, mortgage insurance, that is now allowed back on your tax return. That went away this year. And again, mid-February, they said, okay, you can have it back. So those can go on there. So if you've got a mortgage and you've got mortgage insurance and you already filed, bring that information back into us. We'll amend that and get you that extra.
So if you filed before what date? Let's say was somewhere in February.
I want to say February 21st.
All right. So if you filed before February 21st and you have mortgage insurance, that was not on your return.
Correct. That had went away with the tax.
And then you guys, I call it a note. You guys got notification that it can be on there now.
Yes.
So what you're saying is anywhere you've done your taxes. Especially here at H&R Block with Beth Bennett, anywhere you've done your taxes, you go back in and they should amend that for you.
Yes, and allow you to claim that credit. So that's a big change. Another one is, and I have to make sure I tell at the chamber lunch tomorrow, a lady asked me several times, well, can't you use your home equity line of credit interest? And I said, no, everything we have says no. And she's like, well, I read somewhere, remember we talked about that depending where you get your information from, it's all conflicting, right? Whatever media source you're listening to, they put their spin and that's where it goes. But there's now clarification for the home equity line of credit. You can take that interest, but it's very specific now. In the old rules, you could take a home equity line of credit on your house and buy a new car, pay for your kids' college or a wedding or pay off credit card debt, right? And you could still take that interest on your tax return till last year. Effective December 15th of 2017, they said no longer available. Now they're saying you can take your home equity line of credit interest, but very specific rules. It can only be to acquire, to build, or to substantially improve your current home.
So they narrowed it down to specifically for what it is, because years ago, if you could get a $100,000 home equity loan, that's how some people would buy their car, or that's how,
start a business,
whatever. So but because that interest, because it was home equity, that interest was deductible. But if you have a home equity loan now where you've built the addition or whatever, and it's specific to that project or whatever, you can deduct that.
You now can deduct that if it was used to acquire a home, build a home, or do some remodeling, renovations, add on. But it has to be all about a house. It can't be anything other than on your home.
Okay, so you can't go get the home equity loan and take those trips anymore and then deduct the interest.
When I was trying to buy another building, that's what all the bankers said. Just do a home equity line of credit. Do a home equity line of credit. That's what all the bankers wanted you to do.
Yes.
I don't know. I guess that's less paperwork. I don't know.
No, I remember several years ago they pushed for the home equity loan. What else do we have this morning that we need to make sure, because it is getting down to that time. We're in March. You've only got to March 15th is the corporate.
March 15th is corporate
deadlines, and you got till April 17th this year. But we want to make sure we cover everything. At any other points that you wanted to make sure we made this morning?
Phone scams are running rampant. Don't fall for those. They're called, that the IRS phone scams. You owe us. Go get a green dot card and send it directly to us. The IRS is never going to call you and tell you that you owe them money and that you must pay it right now. It's just not going to happen. Okay? You're going to get letters. Letters is how they communicate. Unless you're already working with someone and then you've established a line of communication with them through email or a phone, that you've got an assigned agent. But just randomly, they're not going to call you and require you to pay right now. They're not going to come and arrest you. None of that is true. I even had a friend the other day husband's got the phone call about missing jury duty here in Gilmer County.
Yes.
So that's another one. I mean, and they prey on the elderly and people who are just scared. They're very intimidating and
folks, Beth, I'm glad you brought that up. Phone scams, and they're very bad. Phone scams, especially the one that Beth is talking about, you probably get clients in your line of work that say, the IRS called me. The IRS is not going to call you. You're not going to pick up the phone and say, hey, this is so-and-so, John over here at the IRS, and our records show that you owe $622, and we can actually take 10% off that if you can pay that now over the phone. Not going to happen. You will have, in fact, if you got, and I've been in business for years, so I've gotten statements and I've gotten notices from the IRS. All business people have experienced things of that nature, and you get something, even as an individual, if you owe a tax, you will get a letter. The letter will have the period on it. Okay, it'll have the quarter, the period, and the tax due, right?
Yes.
So don't fall for the phone scam.
Don't fall for the phone scams. They're terrible, terrible.
All right, you guys, quit making those phone calls in there. No,
is that what they do?
Was that a bad joke? That's a bad joke.
Sam would never do such a thing.
No, Sam would never do something like that. Never.
We do have an H&R Block right now, a half-off promotion going on. If you didn't use us last year, come to us this year, you can pay half of what you paid last year. Just got to bring in last year's tax return and your receipt, and we'll give you a nice little discount to sample our service. And
half off.
Half off.
Half off. So if you bring your tax return in from last year and the receipt, whatever, we'll take half of that right off and do your taxes.
Yep.
How many locations do you have?
We have 3 locations here in Ellijay. We got Highlands Crossing up by Walmart, Craig Street between Pools Barbecue and the drugstore, and River Street in downtown. And
your hours?
Whatever you need us to be.
I like that. That's the test. I was good at the test. Don't forget, you got a phone number?
77. I was giving my cell phone number. 706-635-5538, 706-635-5563, and 706-636-1099.
Folks, you can find Beth Bennett, H&R Block, at 3 locations here in Gilmer County. But I want to tell you, just like she said, it's tax season, and if you have to work and you have odd schedule out there, and you can't make it during what the sign on the door says, the regular hours, get in touch with them. They will meet with you, and you make sure you accommodate everyone that calls, don't you?
Absolutely.
All right. Beth, thank you very much. Thank you for that great information. Don't forget, if you filed your taxes already and you have mortgage insurance and you were told you could not put that on your tax return this year, they came out and said, yes, you can. So that is a change that has taken place. You need to go back and get that mortgage insurance. They will amend the return. Corporate tax is 15th. You have to be filed by the 15th. April 17th is tax day, right?
Yes, sir.
The standard deductions have doubled in the state of Georgia, right?
Yes.
So did I pay attention?
You did. Pass the test.
Beth Bennett, H&R Block Tax Tips. And you can share this with your friends. We always post this on our FYN TV Fetch Your News YouTube channel. Please share this with your friends. It's great information. Go see Beth Bennett, H&R Block today to have your taxes done. Hey, maybe half off. Take your receipt and last year's return. Good?
Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome. Take us a break.